Welcome in this new podcast episode. Today I'm talking to Ceren Danis. She is from Istanbul. She lives in Amsterdam. And today, when I'm talking to her, she is actually in Istanbul. So, welcome to the podcast, Ceren.
Thank you for having me, Erno.
Yes. And let's give a little bit of background how I came to inviting you for the podcast, because I was at the event of Boost, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, organized by a couple of people who really want to make sure that we speed up our attention to the SDGs and companies working on the SDGs. You were one of the other attendees, and I think you were also in the breakout session with me, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So there was a breakout groups in the end, so we could get to know each other a little bit better. And you introduced yourself, and I just watched two documentaries again, probably on fast fashion, and that's why you triggered me with what you're doing. So let's start there. Let's start with, what are you doing now? What is your business?
So Wearebasics, I would like to call it a sustainable fashion service, not a sustainable fashion brand.
Hold on. Just to make clear, Wearebasics. That's your company.
Yeah.
You go very fast there.
Yeah, it's we are basics, and how I would like to call it is not a sustainable fashion brand, but a sustainable fashion service. And why do we do that? We basically want to not only offer sustainable clothing items to the people, but make it also accessible to sort of return their items back to us. So we have a business model that is at the forefront of the company itself. We just use clothes as a vehicle to sort of enhance sustainability in people's lives. And everyone needs clothes, everyone needs to dress themselves, and everyone needs basic clothing and on a regular basis. So Wearebasics actually came to light with that idea of what do people need in their wardrobe all the time, and what do people change the most in their wardrobe all the time. And we only have a permanent collection where we have t-shirts, long sleeves, so hoodies, all the materials and the items that you regularly need in your wardrobe. And we do not only focus on raw materials, which are the recycled polyester and organic cotton, but we also enable our customers, once they are done with the items, to send back their clothes back to us. And we actually repair them, clean them, and sell them secondhand. That is one thing. And another thing is that I really do believe that we shouldn't really punish people for not being able to afford sustainable fashion, because indeed still it is not accessible for the majority of the population due to the price points. So what we do offer is we offer a monthly payment system for the people who join our service. So they can basically pay their clothes not only all at once by becoming a part of our service, but in monthly installments. So that's a bit about our business model.
Can you say that kind of like you rent the clothes from you?
Yeah, I mean, I would refer you back to swap fees example. You wouldn't necessarily say that you are renting the bike per se, like you have still an ownership of the item, the bike, the clothes, and you have the option not to return it as well. Maybe you would like to use it for 10 years or like until it becomes basically wiping clothes. But for most of the people who would still like to sort of change the color, change the size, change according to the seasons, we give them the option to become part of the service without being unsustainable and shopping for more new items. And we just feed all those older pieces back into the system for people who are still interested in buying secondhand. So in a way, not punishing the people for wanting new clothes, but at the same time enabling the people who would like to shop secondhand.
Do you believe in circular clothes? That
So when I actually, if I have to go back to the origins of my story, I originally come from a finance background. So I was working at a bank, one of the big banks in the Netherlands. And there was this project called the Frontrunners Challenge. And it was a project that ran for 6 months, and they were matching you according to your interests. And two of my interests were fashion waste and women empowerment. And I knew that fashion industry was one of the most polluting industries in the world. So me coming from a services background, having no experience in manufacturing and not having seen the factories, my dream was to have we call it cradle to cradle fiber manufacturing. So like the whole initial concept of Wearebasics was we take back the clothes, and then eventually when it comes to the end life of the garment, we recycle them, and then we make new fibers, and then we make new clothes out of that. Obviously, this was very utopic. Later on, I found out that the recycling technologies and current systems are not actually very supporting of this whole cradle-to-cradle system. It's getting there, definitely, with the new technologies, chemical recycling technologies. But either those are too expensive or not commercialized, or mechanical recycling is not very sustainable unless you have very big volumes. So then, yes, I do believe in the circular, completely closed loop business models in the textile industry, but we are not there yet.
Yeah, one of the documentaries that I saw was about the prijsknaller, Caro and Cervé. And at some point in the documentary, they are standing close to a landfill. It looks like a regular landfill. It's just filled with clothes. And the same story, but a different country, was talked about in an article by Umeco. They make deck beds. I don't know what the English term is. Anyway, is they talk about also landfills like 4 or 5 meters high that increase every year.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how much stuff we throw away on clothes, right? So the whole idea, I think, comes with the marketing of the companies like Zara and similar companies who just turn around fashion so fast. They have new collections every 14 weeks or something. No, 14 times a year, I think it was. And so that the research showed that people come in their shops multiple times per year instead of just 1 or 2 times per year. And that's what this is all about, right? We need more visitors in the shop so that we can sell them more, so we grow in revenue and in profit. And you just mentioned how difficult it is to completely get a circular fashion world industry.
Yeah.
What do you think is necessary to change? What do we need to do as company owners, as consumers, to change into an acceptable way of working with clothes?
Yeah. So there is actually a lot of things to pack in that question. First of all, I can talk from the business aspect of things. The business aspect of things, first of all, like one of the things I really deeply believe in is that we need to align our financial incentives with the sustainability incentives, which is most of the times not only missing in the fashion industry, but in a lot of industries across the spectrum. After all, we still live in a world based on value creation and a capitalistic system that actually is still values profitability. So how can we incorporate sustainability into that system, a more value-based system? So then it is a no-brainer for the business owners that once they step into circularity, sustainability, that they are going to gain from it. So that I think the main link is missing for that purpose. And for the customer side, right now, the whole reason that the fast fashion is working really well, and there's a reason why it's been such a like a thing in the past decade or two, is that fashion comes from sort of expression, the emotion, and people want to sort of like give themselves an identity through fashion most of the times. And fast fashion really enabled that. So you can like become one thing and then the other, and it's really sort of like making it accessible for very cheap price points for a majority of the population. So for the people who still want to do that, we need to sort of not only educate that this is possible through either vintage clothing or the clothes that you already have in your wardrobe through upcycling and other methods. So that's then they actually realize that instead of buying new clothes, that they have other options. So I think that's the consumer side. There is the third part, not only the brand owners and the business owners, but also the manufacturers and the sort of the supply chain part. And in that sense, the supply chain part, as you mentioned with the landfills, is in that sense, sustainability is really a first world problem, because the most consumption that is being done is done in the global north, and we dump our clothes in the global south. So us going there and teaching them how to manufacture clothes with our certifications, with our fair wear and other sort of like controlling mechanisms is kind of in a way juxtaposing with the idea of that we are actually the cause of the problem. We should change our business practices and behavior as a consumer first, and solve our problems within, then actually maybe think about it as like a global supply chain issue, including the manufacturers, because what we dictate eventually trickles down to them anyways. So those are my 3 pointers for that question.
Yeah, in the documentary about the Prijsknaller, you see that when you dump your clothes in these collection boxes, your clothes that you don't use anymore, and you can't sell on second hand because they're just not good anymore. They get distributed first. They go to Poland, and the things that can go to Poland go to, for example, Ghana. So, like you said, most of the clothes we dump on these countries in the southern hemisphere, and I have no idea why first and second, how this could be changed easily. I think probably we need laws that the manufacturers of the clothes, like we have laws now, for example, like if you have a plastic bottle in the shop and you sell it, you also need to take it back, right? So I think a similar thing should happen with the clothes going to the shops, return them. And that's what you do, for example, right? Once you've worn your clothes and you don't like it anymore, you just send it back to you.
And they have a value.
Yeah, either you reuse it or send it secondhand, sell it secondhand, or find probably another way to use it again. Maybe not now, but in the future you will probably. So I think that is an important part of this problem that we could use as a solution. You have studied into the financial direction, right? You studied in the financial world. You've been to the University of Utrecht, Bachelor of Sciences, Economics and Business. And you talk about how we should incorporate this sustainability idea into the current economic system. What if we could change the economic system?
If we could or we couldn't?
If we could.
If we could. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that keep me awake at night. That's I think one of the like I said, the origins of the problem. So if we can actually incorporate social value, and there are a lot of people working on this, different professors, how to sort of incentivize good behavior, and how to value and quantify good behavior, and sort of make that into a concrete form instead of the abstract, like being a good citizen concept that we currently have in our minds. It's very interesting to see these developments, but I think one of the biggest challenges there is that it's very subjective. The same thing with sustainability as well. When I was still also like working at the bank, we were working on our sustainable finance strategy as well, and people have different opinions about either it's very black and white, it's either sustainable or not sustainable, either it's good or bad. Or some people actually do value the improvements towards like the greener greener methodologies, the greener sort of like programs. But because of this subjectivity and differences in opinion, it's very hard to sort of come to a one agreed standpoint, which makes it harder to incorporate in the sort of the current economic system that we have. Because the current economic system that we have is very math based, even though we say, for example, for example, in the financial markets, we think that all the players are rational, but that's actually not the case. But all the economic systems that we have are based on that. So it's a very simplified system that can be very easily explained to other people. So in that sense, it works. So if we can come to that simplification point at hopefully near time in the future, then we can really, I think, have improvements also on, or having at least a better economic system that incorporates values and social responsibility in it.
So you studied economics. You are awake at night on this question. What is it that you... Actually, you also went to the Rotterdam School of Management and you did Master of Science in Finance and Investments. So you were deep into this economic system. And because of all the teaching right now is like 90% on the current system. Yeah. As my son, he's also studied economics, so I've got a little bit of a peek there too. But what I see is how easily it is for him to get like a part of that system that is existence, and how difficult it is to discover a new way how this should work. If you could change it tomorrow, what do you think is necessary? How would you change it?
I really do believe that we shouldn't really punish people for not wanting to change. So I think one thing that I would do would be to incentivize, would be to make people sort of understand and get rewarded within the current system, and slowly incorporate that behavioral change. Because you cannot really, like I said, blame or punish people for not wanting to change overnight. But what we can do tomorrow is to actually incentivize for people for doing good. For example, I don't know, this is maybe like a very like outrageous or like interesting thought, but for the people who are doing good behavior, or businesses who are doing good practices, we have a lot of tax cuts for rewarding other things. So in a way that we can implement a system that still financially incentivize people for doing good, and sort of make it the norm by slowly implementing these changes, and for like sort of like rewarding people for wanting to do good as well, in a way that becomes a no-brainer at a certain point. So that's, I think, like one of the things. I mean, this again puts a lot of pressure on the governmental parties and or supranational parties, as we call it, because they have to sort of like an umbrella, make an umbrella decision to like impact a large population of people. But I think if we have to change something overnight, that would be one of my suggestions to go for.
Right. I'll park this right for now. I was thinking back to your close because I have a couple of questions there as well. First, a question I'm not sure came to my mind because you are in Istanbul now. You come from Istanbul. Your business partner is also Turkish, if I'm right. Do you produce your products, your clothes in Turkey?
So actually, our supplier is in Belgium.
Okay.
You can find all our stakeholders in Belgium. We wanted to produce in Turkey, but because of circling back to our beginning our conversation, it was easier for me to conduct business and communicate with sort of European counterparts than the Turkish part. So we chose that way.
Right. Because when I'm right, for Europe, Turkey is an important textile producer.
Yeah.
Do you believe that does it matter? I've got difficulty finding the right words to ask this question. What do you think is important if you, for countries in Europe that sell clothes, to produce in like countries like Turkey, because the wages are just lower there?
Yeah. So first of all, there are a couple of things why the clothes are produced cheaper in countries like Turkey or even further in Bangladesh, China, and all these countries. It's not only the sort of like the wage problem. The labor is cheap because of cultural issues, and actually for example for brands that would like to produce in all these countries, once they, for example, I know a lot of H&M and Zara are producing in Turkish manufacturers, and the more they impose about working conditions, the more they impose about certifications, the more they impose about sort of better practices, they do have the negotiating power to sort of like ask, okay, yeah, this is not being done in the way that I want. So then you have to change your practices and you have to comply with these certifications and with these rules. Then again, it's kind of there lies a responsibility of all these sort of like brands who are producing in these countries to sit down at the table with the factory owners, with the manufacturers, to ask them, okay, yeah, like, or go see in person even better, to say that, okay, yeah, this doesn't work for me, for my brand, and for all the things that I represent. Then they do change and they do invest in these things. But the supply chain of the textile industry is so complicated. Like once I sort of like first visited factories myself. So for example, like you sign a contract with a certain manufacturer, and that manufacturer signs a contract with another manufacturer, and there is almost like an untraceable layer of manufacturers who sort of, there becomes the problem. So in the end, you lose the traceability between the chain. So that makes it harder to negotiate. Yeah, you negotiate with your biggest producer, but then how do you track all those parties involved? And there is change, and like I said, there is a negotiating power, and there is a sort of like a move towards more sustainable practices. But I think it has to be a more overall conversation of, okay, saying that because I mean, in a way, when you're negotiating with your biggest producer, you still know about this trickle down system. And you are saying as the brand, yeah, I mean, I talk with my manufacturer, I don't really care about the rest. So that's again, yeah, becomes out of reach, or let's say harder to impact because it's second, third, fourth degree.
Yeah, you can see also in the documentary for the Price Ground where they produce. I think most people by now know the terrible, unsustainable business of producing cotton, right? So we use a lot of water, we underpay the farmers, female and children do the plucking of and also the pollination, but also the plucking of the cotton, because they don't have minimum wage. Then, of course, doing the production with the coloring and the washing, a lot of chemicals are used, and the same thing happens for polyester, right? It's in basic. It's often like fibers that are, it's no problem, but once they start cleaning and using all these chemicals and dyeing and stuff like that, it becomes very wasteful. There's a part of the documentary where we see towns, or not towns, but settlements along the river that have a lot of difficulty and no clean water, and also the land that they use where they grow their crops is contaminated, and there's so much bad things going on. And when you talk about this trickle down stuff, that I think at the bottom is the production of right, the textile, the cotton, and for example the other base products of
materials, yeah.
Right. How do you investigate or research or look into the basics of your product, of the base of your product?
Yeah, so we do have multiple certifications that we use. One of them is the GOTS, that is the prime standard for cotton. We have the GRS for the recycled standard of our polyester. We have the Fair Wear Foundation certificate for the sort of the working conditions of the factories that we work with. So we do have to sort of take care of this issue by maybe visiting the factories ourselves, seeing and making sure that the people that we work with are according to our standards. But there's always a transfer of responsibility through certifications. All these parties are actually like going and checking regularly every year that if the practices are still up to par and like being done right. That's basically one of the biggest developments in the industry so far. I'm not saying that it's going to solve the problem from the completely, but in a way it puts a certain amount of pressure for at some point in the chain, like I said, to have a certain standard and not being able to produce in very harsh conditions or sort of like in unsustainable matters with very contaminated areas of, like you said, water. And in a way that's sort of like the way we cope with it. But ideally, and this is like what we would like to implement, the whole dream is that having a completely traceable system. So like there are practices with blockchain to do this, that you trace the produced cotton to the fiber maker, to the manufacturer of the fabrics, and then to the confectioner, and then to the design, and then to the store. So that would be the sort of like the ideal implementation of it. Then you can actually see, okay, this is when it was like the cotton was taken from this field at this time with this standards, and then it cannot be changed at all throughout that supply chain. There are already projects being done. Again, it's really at the early stages, but more and more, like if these projects come to life, then that is actually the whole idea of like sustainability actually comes from traceability, so that this transfer of responsibility doesn't happen. So there is not an overarching organization saying that this is right or this is wrong, but you can track everything step by step as a consumer as well, not only as a brand owner, and see it for yourself for that matter.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Marieke de Ruiter. She's from the New Fork, also based in Amsterdam, and they have like tools and software about traceability with Bitcode, not Bitcode, with how do you call this?
Cryptos, blockchain.
Blockchain. That was the word I'm looking for. Blockchain, but then in the food industry. So it's a similar system, and it's a very interesting solution, I believe. Like you said, for the consumer, you can check the clothes if you're really interested in where it's coming from, and probably you're pretty sure once it is like blockchain is connected to it, then I think the chances that it is fairly produced is a lot higher when it's not traceable, and you know, also for the brand themselves, that right now, because I've seen a lot of documentaries where you see the big companies, the big corporations, and they have the corporate office in Europe somewhere, and they visit, like with the documentary, they visit the corporate office, and they don't know what's going on. They get these images of footage of people that are working not under the right conditions, and they have no clue. So if we do this with Bitcoin, not with Bitcoin, with blockchain, I think it is that's a big help. I agree. That would be a good solution. You have now, I believe, like 4 or 5 clothing parts, as you call them, basics, and so t-shirts and hoodies. So what are your plans to expand? Because it's just right now it is limited.
So the whole idea is that we, like I previously mentioned as well, like for us, the sort of the vehicle is the clothing items to enhance this sustainable or circular business model. So we don't really have a vision to have like a full-blown collection that changes every year. This is sort of like the brand identity that we have. We might add different raw materials such as hemp. We might add maybe like 1 or 2 other items to our collection that we think is permanent. But every time we do that addition, we actually consider if this is what people need regularly in their wardrobe, if this the material is sustainable and can be sustainably produced going forward, and it should not be like, for us, like it wasn't the whole idea is to have like another sustainable fashion brand, but to sort of like satisfy the needs of the consumers. So then if we get feedback from the consumers that this is an item that they regularly need in their wardrobe, we might also consider that and consider adding that to the collection as well. But this is how we work in a way. We are not looking to just expand and sort of like grow our collection of items, but more of growing our base with our current clothes, sort of like getting people used to the service, used to this sort of practicality and the convenience side of circularity. Then with our audience and with our customers, grow if we need to grow.
Right. No, I understood that from the website, and I was just wondering, for example, like pants or dress. That's a pretty basic item too in your closet. Do you have plans to do that?
Yeah, so we are looking to add the first thing you mentioned as well, the pants to our collection as well. And we are also considering hemp, which I also like just mentioned. It's very interesting material actually in terms of durability as well. And it looks a bit more dressed up. So like for the, like all our items, not most of our items, but all our items are unisex. So that's also in a way completely genderless, and we also believe that in a way sustainable, so we don't have to produce for men and women, and also multitudes of sizes for different men and women, but we can do the same thing with this with these 2 items. So those are the things that we are looking to add in the near future.
Okay, I can imagine with the amount of advertisement that young people, your audience, which is between 20 and 40 years, get through, for example, Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok, not TikTok, Instagram for sure, and Facebook.
Also, TikTok is actually a huge advertising machine
Okay,
these days.
okay. Good, because I'm not very into TikTok. But so I can imagine that it's easier for somebody in your target audience to understand, to see, to believe, to feel that they need to add more clothes to their wardrobe. How do you how will you grow in awareness with Wearebasics?
That will come in time, and through our sort of like educating our customers, through also like we have to use social media. Social media is really a vehicle to sort of educate the younger people, as you mentioned. But in a way, similar to what we discussed before about this sustainable practices becoming the norm, etc., it is not gonna happen overnight. We do understand that, and initially it starts with actually the quality of the materials and how it looks. So no matter how many times you preach sustainability and the perks of the service and the business model, in the end, as I also mentioned before, like fashion is about expression and fashion is about looking cool, and younger people do want to look cool and feel like a million pieces. And there is that's like one of the things. If we can actually reach to those people and they see that they can actually touch and feel, and yeah, like I can get this hoodie and then return this color and then get another color back, so like in a way get their foot in the door and then educate them along the way. That's how we would like to go about it. Like it's in the end what we do sell clothes, and sort of like once people touch and feel, that's like our biggest sort of like proud moment, is that they don't want to take it off. So like that's a good feedback for us, and that's good feedback. But also like in a way, with these returning customers who would like to return, instead of just buying new, we can say that, oh, by the way, we do have a take back program. Would you like to return this t-shirt that you don't want to use anymore, if you would like this new other color? So that's a bit the step-by-step approach that we are taking.
Right. Yeah, I remember the conversation I had with Rob van den Dol, who is the founder of Yumiko. And we talked about sustainability and how important that is as a selling point. And he said it really isn't the quality of the product. That's the selling point. So the product needs to be really of high quality, and people need to experience the product, like you just said, and then they are convinced. And then once you show them afterwards that it is also sustainable, it gives them a good feeling. It's not really a plus point in the sales. I found that very interesting.
Exactly. It's very unfortunately that is still the case. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's get better though.
yeah. Do you, because right now you are a two-person company. Do you see that at some point you need investments, money to grow your business?
Yeah, definitely. So far, we are churning ourselves. We are two full-time employees, but we do have support also for web development and digital marketing from outside. So I would say two full-time and a couple of other freelancers and part-time. And investment is a big part of it. But on that note, once you get an investor on board, which I'm very familiar with that process, they are looking to get their returns as well. So for the scalability of the production, it is very important to not to give away from our mission and vision and values, to sort of have a sustainable growth instead of looking to bring external parties on board to sort of just to grow. So that's, I think, the crucial part of bringing an external party on board.
Yeah, I think that what I've seen is that I was talking to one of the founders of Lucy, and they had an investment partner from Japan. And what you could see is that they have a different time frame. So they're looking at longer term. They don't really matter. It takes like 10 years to get the investment back. That's all fine. And I think that it's, yeah, I think that you are in the right spot in Amsterdam. There's a lot of investments going on right now for people that are looking to invest into socially and ecological smart products, and are looking for a little bit longer term return on investment, which I think is necessary if you want to grow these businesses. What do you see as your biggest challenge at the moment?
Biggest challenge with Wearebasics or in general?
Yes, Wearebasics.
With Wearebasics, I think the biggest challenge is to grow the audience sustainably, because like as we mentioned, the fashion industry is very saturated, is very cluttered. So reaching the right people sort of in a way through digital channels or in other means becomes harder and harder every day. So I think once we establish that, and with these things, there's usually a tipping point. So you put in a lot of effort until that tipping point, and then suddenly everything starts paying off, as with most of the business practices actually. Then I think we will like reach that tipping point and it will be fine. But so far, like I think the biggest challenge is like growing our audience in a sustainable manner.
What are you doing strategically to grow your business?
So we do have digital marketing efforts. We are actually now working with offline channels as well. So even though I was actually very personally against retail, just because of the fact that I mentioned, when people touch and feel our clothes, they see how good they are, and then they become returning customers. We started working with concept stores and offline channels. So then that's like one of the things. We do have now sort of the influencer side of things that we think is like helping a lot, because in a way the regular media and regular sort of like PR channels, etc., are sort of less and less considered to grow a business in a way, but more like on the digital side, the more on the influencer marketing side, and more on the, like I said, touch and feel and like experience side of things really matter for the new generation. So those are the things that we are doing as well.
Good. My guess is, because you started last year, 2021, is at the moment you're not at break even.
Yeah.
When do you expect to break even?
I think we will in the next year. That's a good sign, because, like I said, we are not really. I mean, because I also come from a financial background. My co-founder is architecture and design background, so completely different side of the spectrum, which really helps the business as well. And we are really, in a way, careful with what we spend versus what we have like incoming. So having that from the get-go and doing good financial planning helped a lot. So in that sense, like for us, maybe like as co-founders, it's very hard at the beginning, but for the business itself, it will definitely be like a break-even very soon.
Do you follow like a program for startups or something to educate yourself in this process?
So that's another thing. We, with my co-founder, we have worked with different coaches and different accelerators. But for me, I work with FemStart. So it's an organization that supports female entrepreneurs in the Netherlands to get coaching. I think they were the most valuable initiator at the beginning. So you can get experience not only business wise or like sort of advice wise, but also from females, which I think do differ in a way that how we experience the business world. And yeah, and we still get coached from different parties along the way, actually. So
I was just checking because if I'm right, FemStart, yes, that is. I've spoken because the founder of FemStart, that is, what's her name again?
Maria?
Yeah, I've spoken to her in the podcast as well. That's why I remember the idea. Yeah. I'm also still curious about one thing. You mentioned that you and your co-founder have different backgrounds, and you've mentioned that during this time in ABN AMRO, you learned about the thing that you were interested in, fashion waste and woman empowering. Where did this fashion waste feeling come from? Why is it so important to you?
So I mean, personally, I was I wouldn't say like an addict, but I used to shop a lot. So it's most of these kind of like business entrepreneurs and business solutions that usually come from a personal story. And for me as well, I used to shop a lot, and I was also like putting them not only like throwing them out, but putting them into those things like the donation things. And I would like at some point I had like I was moving actually in Amsterdam. I had almost like 6 trash bags of clothes in my hand, and then I took them to that little container. And I'm like, okay, where are these going? Right? So and then I googled, and then I started watching stuff, and then I was shocked, and then I was very saddened, and then personally I usually like think about the whole like financial and social side of things anyways, like because of my personality. But then when I put these two together, and I'm like, okay, something has to be done, like all this is going nowhere. And then looking further into the industry, I found out it's the most second polluting industry in the world. And then like there's not a system in place to recycle the clothes. There is not a system in place that we are dumping all of our stuff without having to, you know, like think about them or where they end up in. So it was like and then it was like a chain reaction. So learning more, researching more, and then I was like, yeah, I have to do something about it.
Good. This may be my final question, I'm not sure yet, but how did you find your partner, Sansu, or Kansu, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name.
Sansu, yeah.
Sansu.
I went to high school with her brother, so I known her since high school. That's, yeah, like our school in Istanbul was very special. So like it was an American high school. So in that sense, like we got a lot of exposure to, you know, different cultures, different business practices from our teachers, but also from the activities that we joined, also like in Europe, but in the US as well. And Cansu, through her brother as well, she did multitudes of exchanges like in the US. She worked in New York, Portugal, and Milan as well. And we were always like in touch. But very funny enough, when this whole project at ABN AMRO ended, and then I decided that I was going to pursue this full time. She was at the time working for a very famous gallery in Milano, Rossano Orlandi, and they were doing a project about waste to value. And yeah, I was just like talking to her, and then she's like, oh wow, like I'm also doing this project. I am specifically interested in like fashion industry as well. And then it's basically happened very organically. Like we were just exchanging information, and then we realized that we are talking on the phone and exchanging information so much that we are kind of working together. And then yeah, it became official sort of in a way.
do you have like side jobs, or is this your job? And because I can imagine that right now you're not making a lot of money as the two founders. How do you? And Amsterdam is not a cheap place to live for sure. How do you get by?
Yeah, I am family, friends, fools. The three Fs. They have been supporting. I mean, I am super. I'm a very lucky girl. I have a lot of family members that believe in what I do and keep me supporting throughout this journey. I was very fortunate enough to have worked at a bank, which also gave me enough runway for quite some time. When I knew that I was gonna do this full time. And like I said, once people see that energy and spark, and like I said, I'm also very fortunate to have people around me who believe and who love what I do. So I do get a lot of support in that sense, also financially.
Good, you need it. What is your biggest question, biggest decision that you are working on right now?
Biggest decision in
Yes.
what way?
Well, I also found that you are also working on another initiative right now. Then you probably maybe have two companies. So what is the biggest decision that you are working on? And you're looking for different kind of solutions or opportunities or things that are going on.
Yeah, so it's actually like being an entrepreneur is like what I realized is a huge mindset switch, and that's what I've been experiencing in the past 2 years. You start seeing like solutions everywhere, and especially like after Wearebasics with a lot of learnings and what we have learned along the way, we were thinking how can we make this a scalable thing in the fashion industry. That is the actually second project that I'm working on, and that is actually a project that requires a lot of funding, and we already have external investors that have committed capital in that sense, so it's going really well. And that is sort of the decision that I keep myself challenged every day. How can this industry become better? How can this industry become better without challenging people and business owners per se? And that is specifically like what we focus with our second company, Circularify, which will hopefully launch in this year as well. And that basically implements what we do for Wearebasics, the service model for other brands, sort of enabling them to join the movement and join this circular transition as well. And that's what keeps me awake at night most of the time these days.
Good. I love it that things keep you awake, because that means you've got fire and energy in you to move the things forward. Because if you lose that energy, then you lose your business. Ceren, thank you very much for your insights and your ideas and how you move your company forward. I love learning from you and about your business. And hopefully people also that listen right now and your audience will understand how important it is that we change our behavior towards clothes that we dump. And even if you dump them in these recycle bins that go to like Leeg des Heils or something like that, look into the story of where these clothes are going, like you did, and you will learn that the good feeling that you had when you were dumping them before is gone, because it's not a good way, and it has nothing to do with the organization behind it. It just has to do with the whole system. So thank you very much, Ceren, again, and hope to talk to you later when the business is grown and we are well known. You are well known with that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was great talking to you.